So today on the truck, I can show you that I got both cab corners on. I got the back part on. It's all welded. Kind of ground. I showed that in the other video. So what I'm working on now is this frame that I made for the cab. I want to enclose this. So from the factory, it wouldn't have been like that. This would have all been almost like a C-channel type square tube right here, and there's a wood block that goes in there, and it welds onto the floor, and so I wanted to make it a little more rigid. Anyway, so this is what I came up with. This is where the toe kick is from the running board. Now the running board would be here, the toe kick would come up and come along here. So what I want to do is I want to close this in, so if anybody were to look underneath that, you know, up along that toe kick onto the cab, they would just see the body. So what I did was I cut out, I taped this on there, I cut them out, came over here, transferred it all to my metal here, cut one out, then I came and I put it on like this. Now it's not welded on yet, it will be. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, is just kind of keeping this nice and smooth from the body all the way under like that to this part of the frame. My actual floor inside the cab most likely will be here. I haven't decided that yet, but most likely it'll be here. The seat frames will sit right up on top of this, so it's nice and strong. And this will just basically be underneath cosmetics. So this will be all body color, so it'll look complete. And then it'll be from here over will be the floor with the transmission hump and everything else. And then along the seam will be sealed, so it'll all be like one, be welded and sealed. This will just be welded and sealed here. And then I'm going to overlap this like that. This will get pulled in tight. It's only 18 gauge that I'm doing now. So this is a lot thinner. This will come in and be flush to that. That means then all these can be welded up, all that can be welded up, and that can be all ground and look like one. There'll be a slight transition here to the other direction, and then this will all be welded up. I'll put a thin glass on there so the rocker will come and blend in to here all the way down. So that's kind of where I'm at, what I'm doing right this second. And I will do the same thing up here. So there's going to be a piece that comes up to here and it'll go to the edge of this frame. So that'll all be boxed in, you know, completely all boxed in, and the floor will be just up here. More than likely the floor is going to be on top here. So then from the inside, you'll only see it up here. From the underside, you might see a little bit of this, and you're going to see the side of this and the bottom of that floor. So it'll be aesthetically pleasing when looking underneath. If somebody were ever to be able to look underneath, I should say, because the truck's not going to be that high off the ground, but on a hoist, on a ramp, you'll be able to tell. So that's what I got going on. And continuing on, I made these parts, fit them, welded them in, started welding all these slots into. I just tack welded this all the way down. And then I'm debating on how I'm going to be welding this yet. There's a few different ways to do it. I can either overlap it like it's sitting. I could have put it underneath and welded, or I could butt weld it. And in this case, how you would butt weld it is you would leave it over like this, and then you would take your cutoff wheel and you would cut it really close there. So So you cut through this, and then as you go, you push it in and you butt weld it. Not sure if that's what I'm going to do. I don't think it's going to matter right here. The biggest thing is when you weld here that you want to penetrate this material first and let the puddle go into this material, because you're going to penetrate this real easy, not this as easy. And then you just weld it, you just grind it flat like this and maybe just touch the edge, and then you just do a little fill on that. But meanwhile, I decided also that I needed to fill the gas hole where the gas filler would come through. I didn't really show how I made this, but because it's curved, if you see it's curved, and it's like it's egg shaped. It's not really symmetrical. What I did was I took a piece of metal flat, and then I took it on my vise, and then I bent it in like 3 spots to kind of give me a preliminary curve. And then is what I did is I took it over my planishing hammer and I beat it so it's kind of smooth. But the thing of it is, you still got all these little dimples in there, and that's from the planishing hammer. If I would have had a English wheel, then I could have probably flattened that out. But to me, it's not that big of a deal. This is all going to get skimmed anyway. But I wanted to show you that now. So then when I had it bent, and after I did the planishing hammer, I took it over here and I fit it on the outside so it fit that contour. And then on the inside, I traced a black line and I marked up so I knew which direction was up. And then I cut it with my tin snips, and I finished with my grinding flap wheel so I can kind of fine tune it to get it so I can get it so it sits flush. And that's what I did. So I'm gonna grind this smooth, and I'll show you what it looks like. And so here's what they look like now welded on. I actually left the overlap instead of butt welding it. I will form this, but the reason I did this is not a critical panel, and you can't see behind it. As long as you concentrate heat on this and then let the puddle flow into that, you'll be good. I also then welded it completely down this way on both sides. The bottom, I still have some body repair to do, so I'm not done with that part. And then here's the gas cap cover. It's all good. So that's all ready to go. This is all ready to go. The thing of it is, you don't want to grind down all your weld. You need to have something that grabs. That's why you see it. You know, if I ground it smooth to both, then very little weld's holding them. So that's why I have it set up the way I do. So that's it so far. I'll have to do this piece here that'll match this, and then that'll be all of that. And then I just got to do the cowl repairs and go from there. And here is that panel that I was going to put in at the end. So, like I said, these are all welded in. These are all welded in. I just did this panel here, finished it up. It's the same thing. I did it with just an 18 gauge. Come over. This will then smooth this whole thing out here. This is not really the floor. As I said before, the floor is actually going to be most likely up here, not down here. But the frame will be right along here of the truck, the frame of the truck. The mounting holes I'll put back in because I can get those from the top, drill through. But I kind of wanted to show you what the roughed in welding and stuff is like. Like I said before, I didn't grind the weld completely smooth. I'm going to glass over this, and then it'll do some body work on that. And it's just primarily over these weld areas and these corner areas, just to kind of smooth it out. So when you look underneath this truck, you'll see the floor is here. You'll see a nice edge coming down in here. Well, actually, you won't see all that, but you'll see this part. And this will be right where the running board is, as I explained. So if you looked underneath it at the running board, you'll see this all painted. That's one reason for doing this. The other reason for doing this, if I left this open, in my opinion, there's a lot more room for critters to get in. Mice or whatever can kind of crawl in things and get into some body panels I just don't want them into. So not that I hope I don't have any mice, of course, but sometimes it happens. So anyway, that's as far as I'm going to go with this segment. The next segment, I will be probably cutting these off on both sides, fitting those in, finishing those out, and I will then be glassing this all up, and I'll show how I do that. So there it is, the bottom of the truck.